The two people who gave me life were smiling across the conference table, but they were not looking at their daughter. They were looking at a financial acquisition, waiting for the lawyer to hand them the keys to an empire. My brother Vance was scrolling on his phone, completely convinced that I would walk away with absolutely nothing. They had no idea that the document inside the sealed envelope was about to destroy their world forever. I grew up in a massive house located in a wealthy suburb of Illinois, where appearances mattered more than actual affection. My parents, Sterling and Beatrice, viewed our family as a corporate brand that required constant polishing. My older brother Vance was their proudest achievement because he was athletic, loud, and aggressive. They celebrated his minor victories while I remained invisible in the background, a quiet child who preferred books and nature over social status. When I was 11 years old, I won a major award at the regional science exhibition after spending weeks building a water purification system. I ran home with my ribbon, hoping this achievement would finally make my mother proud. She barely looked at the prize before reminding me that Vance had won a championship the previous weekend. Her cold words taught me that love in our household had a price, tag I could never afford. The divide grew deeper when Vance turned 16 and received a luxury vehicle during a massive party that cost thousands of dollars. When my turn arrived, my mother told me to take the city bus because I lacked the responsibility to drive. Years later, they paid for the expensive private university tuition of my brother, while refusing to provide a single dollar for my nursing education. They told me that public service was a waste of resources. To survive college, I worked midnight shifts at a local fueling station while maintaining a perfect grade point average on minimal sleep. My life changed during my sophomore year when my maternal grandmother, Maeve, managed to locate my hidden apartment. My parents had systematically isolated her from us because she openly criticized their toxic behavior. That night, over a warm meal, she listened to my struggles and became the steady anchor I desperately needed. For 3 years, I secretly visited the city home of my grandmother every single Sunday without the knowledge of my parents. Maeve was a brilliant woman who built a massive property portfolio from nothing. Yet she lived quietly and avoided flashy displays of wealth. She constantly reminded me that loud individuals are usually the most terrified. She attended my graduation when my parents chose a corporate charity event instead, solidifying our unbreakable bond. The devastating phone call arrived from a private nurse at 4 a.m, prompting me to rush to the bedside of Maeve. She was breathing weakly but managed to squeeze my hand, whispering that greedy individuals would soon try to steal her legacy. I promised her that I would stand firm against them just moments before she passed away. Within an hour, my parents arrived at the house, looking more like appraisers than grieving relatives. My parents turned the funeral into a massive networking event for their wealthy associates, shedding perfectly timed tears for the cameras. Afterward, my mother falsely promised that they would manage the complicated estate for me so I would not experience stress. The following morning, we gathered at a prestigious downtown legal office where an attorney named Mr. Davenport prepared to read the final wishes of Maeve. The tension in the room was palpable. Mr. Davenport adjusted his glasses and announced that the total value of the assets reached more than $2 billion. The jaw of my brother dropped, and the pen held by my father instantly stopped moving. They knew Maeve was wealthy, but they never imagined the true scale of her secret empire. My mother smiled greedily, clearly expecting to control the entire fortune, completely unaware of the trap that awaited them. The lawyer revealed that my mother would receive a simple collection of old recipes, while my father inherited a wooden game set. When Vance demanded to know his share, Mr. Davenport read a statement explaining that my brother received absolutely nothing due to his constant neglect. The entire remaining fortune of $2 billion was left completely and unconditionally to me. The silence in the room lasted for several agonizing seconds before the screaming started. My father slammed his hands on the table, shouting that a simple nurse could not possibly manage a financial empire. My mother claimed that I must have manipulated an unstable old woman in her final days to secure the money. Mr. Davenport calmly silenced them by reading a specific penalty clause, designed by Maeve. If any family member attempted to contest the will, their own existing trusts and properties would be liquidated immediately. The attorney then read a personal letter from Maeve, which explained that she chose me because I was the only family member who showed true kindness. She wrote that my parents confused volume with value, while I consistently offered genuine companionship without expecting financial rewards. My family walked out of the office in a fit of rage, refusing to speak to me, while Vance desperately begged me to protect his inheritance. Greed blinded my parents entirely, and 3 weeks later, they officially filed a lawsuit to declare me mentally incompetent. They appeared on local television programs, pretending to be deeply concerned parents who only wanted to protect an overwhelmed daughter. I refused to grant interviews or respond to their public slander, trusting the legal defense that Maeve had carefully prepared. The final battle was set to take place in a crowded courtroom. During the hearing, my mother took the witness stand and shed elegant tears while describing me as a fragile, incapable child. When Mr. Davenport stood up to present our evidence, he projected an old corporate email from my father onto a large screen. The message explicitly detailed a sinister plan to isolate Maeve and use Vance to capture her wealth. The faces of my parents turned completely white as the courtroom erupted into murmurs. Our lawyer then submitted a detailed visitor log proving that I had visited Maeve hundreds of times, while my family only appeared to request money. The judge reviewed the evidence and immediately dismissed the case, stating that Maeve was entirely lucid when designing her will. Because my parents filed the petition, the penalty clause automatically triggered, dissolving their family foundation, selling their luxury estate, and freezing the funds of my brother. I walked out of the courthouse into the crisp autumn air, finally feeling a deep sense of release from years of emotional torment. Months later, I used the massive inheritance to purchase an old facility and convert it into a medical center for families without insurance. I decided to name the building after Maeve to honor the woman who changed my destiny. My life finally belonged entirely to me, free from their toxic control. While driving past the childhood home that used to terrify me, I realized that the large structure was just an empty building full of silence. My parents and brother chose vanity over unconditional love, and now they had to live with the consequences of their actions. I am steady, I am free, and every week I still light a candle to thank the incredible woman who truly saw my worth.